particularly on the little waves that have got no power, and we're looking for opportunity. So just to get that momentum going, that will carry you into the next turn. So with a finer view for that and a finer eye for that, we get to sort of, understand water movement. That's that much better, because a lot of surfing is all about understanding water movement and making it second nature.
So you're almost looking for the smaller waves and ripples on the small wave.
We're kind of looking for water movement to catch. We're looking for that sort of change in light on the water, the way the light's bouncing off the water, and then you get that moving lump. It can mean a bump coming the other way from a wind chop, or something doubling over itself, sort of doubling up on itself.
That's a quote from Tom Carroll back in episode number 2. And that one little piece of advice, that perspective change, it truly was a major turning point in my own surfing life. Just really starting to look at the finer details and the way the water moves and the way that waves interact with each other. And because I remember what sparked that part of the conversation was I was surfing and the waves were small, knee to waist high, soft, small waves. I was very frustrated, having trouble just catching the waves, let alone surf them. And Tom paddles out and just starts tearing the absolute bag out of these tiny little waves, just full roundhouse cutbacks, just having the time of his life. And here I was, just frustrated, could barely even catch these waves. Big thanks to Tom for doing that episode back then, and just sort of narrowing in how. I mean, there was a time where he was just as frustrated as I was, and he goes into some of that detail in that episode. But, when you start looking, or first you need to realize that if you're surfing and there's a 2-foot swell coming in, there's so much more happening in the water than that 1-2 foot swell. There's wind chops, there's secondary swells, there's refracted swells, there's backwashes. And if you're not looking for the way that main swell is interacting with those more finer details and those subtleties, you're just not going to be able to surf those small waves properly. So when you see that wind chop, that little wind chop line up with the crest of the main swell, that's when you want to be doing your top turn. Or you see the refracted swell interacting with the bottom of a wave and there's just a little bit more draw off the bottom, that's when you want to do your bottom turn. An analogy I sometimes use with clients is the downhill mountain biking one, which the downhill track itself may be 2 foot wide, and you certainly want to be aware of that track, but you really want to narrow your focus in to the width of your tire. And you want to be looking at the details of where that wheel is going to go and how it's going to interact with that small part of the track. So I urge you, next time you go surfing, just look at the finer details on the wave. And if you want to listen to more of Tom's advice back in episode number 2, there's links to that in the show notes.